Puerto Rico, I am going to make Puerto Rico the biggest hemp supplier to the world. It's just, it makes too much sense not to.
Tell everyone about your business and how it's benefiting the agriculture in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. So it came 2 years ago, and early last year started the farm, which is called Puerto Rico's Finest. We're an organic hemp and food company. We grow hemp is our main cash crop, but we're also supplying the local markets with organic food products. Right now, tomatoes and peppers. But our big thing was we came to the middle of the island. It's a city called Orocovis. It's straight up in the middle. It's called the heart of Puerto Rico. 85 to 90% of all the produce in Puerto Rico is imported.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's been in Puerto Rico. They realize that. So you go to the market, a tomato's $1.50 for a white looking tomato. It's not even red. So seeing that when I first got here and seeing the impact we could do of actually growing for the local economy, just to supply the edibles, the foods, the peppers, but also do the hemp. It was kind of a match made in heaven. So we got a 30-acre-old cow farm in Orocovis to be our land. It was fertile. It was great. Hasn't been used for any type of agriculture, or so no pesticides were used. So we were lucky there. Just kind of started from that, and we're able to employ. Right now, we have eight local employees on the ground, and growing every week. People like our products. Our big products now are cáñamo CBD. So in Espanol, it's cáñamo, hemp, coffee, and hemp cigarettes
Mm-hmm.
are two big products. The coffee, just so like this is crazy, but when we got here, I didn't realize, but Puerto Rico, because I'm not a coffee drinker, but Puerto Rican
Mm-hmm.
coffee, they say it's the best coffee in the world.
Yes.
They say that's what they say, the word on the street. So I started drinking it. I like it, but we Puerto Rico gave back to us so much with the coffee. So
Mm-hmm.
we're able to we're really doing really well on coffee, getting the coffee to different people across the states, and people are just saying, "I just want your coffee. Forget the CBD and hemp. Just give me the coffee." So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing that we're doing is trying to really inform. It's kind of like a niche market that people know about Puerto Rican coffee, but since there's no really wholesalers or suppliers in the U.S., we're trying to fill that niche that well, and turn it to niche to mainstream. So that's the goal.
Yes, so I am Puerto Rican, and
Oh,
in the Latin culture, café, which is coffee in Spanish, is like the biggest thing. Like my parents drink 3 cups a day. If you are Hispanic, definitely someone or everyone in your family is an avid coffee drinker. So I don't really like coffee, believe it or not. Like hot chocolate is more my thing. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I have to say that when I'm not sure if it was you or from someone from your camp sent me the package for the CBD coffee, it was amazing. And I
yes.
was a little hesitant to try it because I'm not a coffee drinker. It was the best thing I've ever had. I think that's a genius idea because, like I said, coming from the Latin culture, coffee is huge for us.
That made my day. That story. I wanna. It's the best coffee you ever had. That's what I love.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn about Orocovis and how to plant here. So
Hmm.
I actually came 2019, and we planted about an acre of tomatoes,
Wow.
just normal uh, cherry. We did cherry tomatoes, we did aromas, and we just did the big beefsteak tomatoes. And we did that because that tomatoes and the hemp plant are basically cousins. They're very similar growing conditions. So came here, did that. Tomatoes successful. They loved it. They love Orocovis. They love Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
So it was like, okay. The actually came afterwards when we got our license in October of 2019, about a year ago actually. Right now it's probably 70% hemp,
Hmm.
20% tomatoes, 10% other crops, random pepinillos and um, the pimientos and the oregano and rosemary.
Yeah.
So
So that's interesting that produce was actually the first thing that you started, and then you guys went into coffee and your other products. Whose idea was it to get into coffee? Was it someone from the island? Was it your team? Did you come up with that?
and this is something that it wasn't my idea. I believe it was my teammate Steve's, because he's a big coffee drinker,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why. So our team it's the majority are Puerto Ricans, local.
Okay.
Uh, so my partner, my partner is a Puerto Rican from Orocovis. That's how I ended up in Orocovis.
Mm-hmm.
His first kind of mindset was, because it's so normal here. Good coffee is so normal
Yeah.
as a local. So he didn't even understand that how beautiful and how great Puerto Rican coffee was.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent, I believe it was like 50 pounds to like different, like of packed up. We sent it out as a little test to different people in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And it was crazy. It went off. Like people were just saying that this is the best. Similar to your reaction on your mom's,
Mm-hmm.
very similar. So we knew we had something. And then after that, we started selling in the local coffee shops in San Juan, like
Mm-hmm.
over in the spring after COVID and and into the summer. We got into a lot of the big name coffee shops.
And that actually leads me to my next question, which was how has the island, the locals received your company? Has received PR's finest?
I think it's been a hit. I
Mm-hmm.
can't speak for everybody, but for my thing is, like I said, I'm a black guy from Maryland, so I'm not Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, it was very important coming here to really engage with local community,
Mm-hmm.
bring local talent onto the team, give them equity in the company, and really build. So first, it was very received, especially in Orocovis in the mountain areas, not in San Juan, where it's the economy is not much here. It's not much, and especially after Maria, it was even lesser than before.
Yeah.
So I kind of came in as the naive gringo after Maria, saying I'm going to start a big farm, and a lot of people are just kind of sick of it, but they were very supportive. Like, we'll help you, we'll give you tips. I've, like I've had guys stop me on the street and they'll give me pots, and they see like we have our fincas like kind of on a side street. We have people all the time stopping and giving us things that they think will help us plant.
In the short time that you've been in Puerto Rico, I'm sure you have helped the agriculture much, and also the people who work for you. What is your goal long term within the next, let's say, 5 years for your business and for what it can do for Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, I am going to make Puerto Rico the biggest hemp supplier to the world. It's just, it makes too much sense not to. I came here on just with kind of a hunch. I never grew any type of cannabis in Puerto Rico, but the hunch was correct. The place is great. The people, like all the boxes are checked. So for now, we're just growing. It's really turning in Puerto Rico. It is well known. And we're like I said, I think Puerto Rico is perfectly positioned to do that. It's basically the U.S. laws and the geography, the latitude
Mhm.
make it perfect. So that's the simple goal. Is just really establish Puerto Rico.
In your short time being there, have you seen anyone else try to do what you do, or are there other kind of CBD infused businesses in the area, or did everything kind of start with you, would you say?
When we got here, the market for CBD was super immature. So there was no local companies. There were no local CBD companies when we came, just because in Puerto Rico, yeah, October 2019 was the first time you could actually have a farm. So right now, I believe there are only 2 or 3 current hemp producers on the island, us being one of them.
Hmm.
Um, and to my knowledge, we're really the only company that's really just doing a direct to consumer brand. So the hemp company I started before, it was all direct to consumer. So I saw the need to be able to control your brand, to be able to not just sell your product on the open market to an extractor or to a
Mhm.
big ag company. Our goal is building the whole kind of economy. So I'm big on white labeling. So I'm in a process of where Puerto Rico's Finest is in the process of partnering with a few local companies and developing their own brands with CBD infused products. Because it's not, I believe Puerto Rico's Finest is the best brand, and we're going to be all over the world in a few years. But it's also realizing that there are other brands that have value for their clientele.
So you guys would be doing kind of like a collaborative deal?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yes, ma'am. It's yeah. It's whenever I've done business, it's always been to work with people, not try to see everyone as a competitor.
For anyone who may be watching this, who may be confused about, like you said, the whole education part of THC and cannabis and marijuana, whichever way you want to label it, can you tell us a little bit about the difference and
Yep.
and then relate that to your product of what your product has?
Yes, ma'am. So the name of the plant in question is the scientific name is called cannabis sativa.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the plant. And colloquial, it's known as cannabis, marijuana, weed, hemp, all these other terms.
Mm-hmm.
First, I always try to put in marijuana is should never be used. It's a completely racist term invented by the US government in like I think the 1910s or 20s with their whole prohibition movement on cannabis targeting Hispanic and black people. So that word marijuana was never used before the U.S. government used it. So the it leaves us with two like correct terms. It's cannabis or hemp are the basically the two terms. And even then, it's not correct because hemp, what you would say is a subset of cannabis because it's like the cannabis sativa plant.
Mm-hmm.
But just the only difference between hemp and the things called cannabis, aka the marijuana word, is one compound called delta 9 THC. Delta 9 THC is the regulated limit, and basically the limit it's an artificial limit, but it's set by the government. It's 0.3%. If the cannabis plant has less than 0.3%, it's considered hemp. That's what we grow. It's a hemp plant. It can be sold at any gas station, supermarket. It can be put in coffee. It can be sold on as a peddling salesman. If it's above that 0.3% limit, the government considers it cannabis, marijuana, the stuff that you have to have a dispensary sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the only real difference, and it's all this artificial boundary set. Um, when people you can have a cannabis hemp plant grown indoors that looks like a product that you would find in the nicest dispensary in Colorado or Southern California. So it's tough. It's really tough. When people ask me, I really equate it to people. How some people have different colors of their skin, hair colors. There are so many features of the human, like genome, and the cannabis plant is literally exactly the same. And it's the THC, the delta 9 THC, is almost as artificial as if the government said, "Hey, this hair color,
Mm-hmm.
certain hair color can't be this dark," or but that's another discussion, a long other discussion.
Awesome. Well, congratulations because your business is still considered new and you've been able to take it very far. I, again, myself, I've tried one of your products and it was amazing, especially for someone who doesn't really like coffee. Um, it was really good.